Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming and spending your lunch hour with me. I am Ren DeCherney, the director for the built environment. I'm a licensed interior designer. I practiced for about 10 years in Alaska, where I'm from originally. So that's what that accent is. And then in Portland, Oregon, which is where I was living before I moved to Amsterdam. That's where I'm based now. I took my firm PVC free in 2017. We were the first in Portland to do that. And that's when I became more involved in sustainability, the sustainability girl at my firm. So I've been in your shoes if you're looking to meet your clients' needs and want to know how to talk to them, talk to your project team. I used certifications to do that. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how Cradle to Cradle Certified is trying to make it easier for you as a designer to like stay ahead of where the market trends are and be informed so you can get back to designing, the fun part of our life, instead of sorting through certifications, which I know how that goes. So I work for a nonprofit called the Cradle to Cradle Products Innovation Institute. We run the certification that is Cradle to Cradle Certified. All you really need to know is that it is a nonprofit that is global. Hooray! Okay, what is Cradle to Cradle Certified? It's a product certification, and we certify what matters. It's a multi-attribute certification that does a lot of things. Today, we're going to talk about, creating a healthy and circular economy. I love the display over there about their carpet take-back program. So definitely check that out on your way out, because it talks about how they're actualizing their circular story, which is fantastic. But one of the things we're really focused on right now as a certification is how to make sure we frankly stay relevant. Because right now the market is super weird, as we all know, and we want to make sure that we as a certification body get you as designers the information that you need in a way that is usable for you and actionable for you. So I'm going to talk through a little bit of the ways that we're doing that. Firstly, we are based on the book Cradle to Cradle, published in 2001, I think, 2004. I don't know. I've got my fact checkers over here. It's okay. I'm close. But it's really the founding concept of circularity in the built environment. And so we take this design philosophy from the book and actualize it into a process that manufacturers and designers can implement. If you're like me and we're like, what is circularity? People are talking about it. I'm embarrassed to look it up. A circular economy is different from a linear economy, the one we're all very familiar with and using very well. A circular economy is a system where products are designed to not become waste. So rather than sending things to the landfill, they have uses at the end of their first use. They're designed to do many different things. And our certification helps people actually design products to do that. The reason we center on circularity is because it turns out that it's kind of a sustainability unlock, and actually many benefits it unlocks. So for example, embodied carbon is going to be responsible for about half of new construction emissions between now and 2050. That's what us as designers are working on, right? Like the embodied emissions of what we build. A circular economy can reduce the carbon emissions from building materials themselves by like 38%. So if we are starting as designers to like cut carbon and look at those numbers, a circular economy really helps you do that because you're working with products that are already available or recycled materials, right? So the embodied carbon comes down. We are also a very wasteful industry. We are responsible for about 30% of waste by volume sent to the landfill every year. So we are really good as an industry of like building things and then sending them away. And so, as you can imagine, that's not a great sustainable option. And so a circular economy can actually help reduce that, could reduce biodiversity loss by 50%. And that's because, again, we're not extracting as many raw materials. We're not polluting ecosystems, that kind of thing. So again, I like to include a very cute little animal picture here because I feel like biodiversity is a really technical word, but it just means like the environments we live in, right? Do we want to like hear birds chirping? Yeah, so that's what we can do with the circular economy. That's why we care about it. Okay, so we are a global certification. I talk to designers in Australia, in the US and Canada, throughout Europe. And so what are we seeing globally that designers need to know about? One is that circularity is actually having a moment, not just in our industry, but like in business in general. So like Bain & Company is saying that like 65% of businesses expect circularity to be part of their practice, right? So this is something that like our clients are going to start asking about because it's part of their frameworks that they're working with. The other thing we're seeing is that designers need verified data. I did a brief stint in tech, and as they say in tech, you put garbage in, you get garbage out, right? So if you are looking for information about products, you need it to be good because you have to tell your clients some stuff, right? On top of that, we're all talking about AI, yeah? And so in order to have a good digitization model, you need good data. And so a lot of designers are starting to use AI tools to sort of supercharge their sustainability initiatives in terms of like sorting through data and that kind of thing. But in order to do that, you have to have good information that goes into that system. So this is sort of all happening globally. And we as a certification body are trying to stay on top of that to, again, help you do your work and have it be easier. Okay. Metropolis Magazine in the US did a great survey of the industry last year, and they found that 65% of us are finding that circularity is coming up in conversation with clients. Again, so it's really coming up. What do we do about this? We are certifying for the built environment. So I mentioned we are a multi-attribute certification. We verify the sustainability of products in these 5 categories. I used this certification as a designer because it meant someone smarter than me had verified all this information and I could just get back to working. So it has always taken this holistic approach so you can find products that do all the things at once. Again, great. So we verify the material health of a product, clean air and climate protection, the carbon and energy footprints, the circularity, water and soil stewardship, and my favorite is social fairness. So we verify that products are being made that are good for the people, good for the planet. We have 3 different certifications that come out of this standard. If you're curious about them, come talk to me, but I want to talk about other stuff. The other thing that sets Cradle to Cradle Certified apart is that it is a multi-tiered program, and every 3 years, manufacturers have to get recertified, right? So they're actually having to make progress every 3 years and show measurable progress. So it's not a tick box for us, sustainability. It's something that's a continual journey. Like as science evolves, as we know more about the planet, we help manufacturers do that work. Okay, what we have done is fully update our program to make sure that it stays on top of where the market is right now. What you need to know is that it is still multi-attribute, still centered on circularity, because that's really our ethos. It is third-party verified. You cannot get Cradle to Cradle certified without having your product be evaluated by an accredited toxicologist and assessor. So these manufacturers are actually doing the things they said they were doing. They've had their homework checked. Yes. And we have fully digitized this certification, which means that you will get, credible data about products from this certification. And I'm going to talk about how we make sure it's available to you, how and where you work. So like I said, we verify the performance of products in these 5 categories, which means we have sustainability performance data about products in all these 5 categories. Hooray, data everywhere. I feel like Oprah, you get data and you get data. When it comes to material health, we make sure that the products going into, or the chemicals in the product, are safe and healthy for people on the planet. We screen over 10,000 harmful chemicals out of the product. It's a chemical inventory and assessment down to 100 parts per million of the product. So again, we get into the weeds when it comes to material health and make sure that you're working with a product that is really healthy for people and the planet. We have a really robust material health methodology, and I just want to point it out because material health is something that comes up a lot with designers. I find clients are asking about it. They might say wellness or indoor air quality. But what sets our certification apart is this assessment piece here. So most certifications will do an inventory and maybe a screening. We're doing a chemical assessment, which means a toxicologist has gone in and looked at the product and the chemicals that are in the product to make sure that they are healthy for people on the planet. And this really closes the regrettable substitutions loophole, right? Where we take something out and we don't know what we put in it instead. These products are not doing that because a toxicologist has evaluated the product that goes into it. So I always like to call that out because, again, as designers, we're having to do this work more and more often. That's something that sets us apart. So Cradle to Cradle certified products have been screened for, like I said, over 10,000 different harmful chemicals. These are the ones that I get asked about the most. So Cradle to Cradle products don't have PVC, PFAS, hazardous flame retardants, antimicrobials, formaldehyde, heavy metals, just to name a few. So we got you covered. All right, product circularity. We verify that products are designed for circularity intentionally. They have materials that can be circulated, and that they have the systems in place to do that work. So when you go over and look at the Milliken display about circularity, they're going to talk about what system they actually have. So if you're like me and you're putting stuff in the recycle bin and you're like, hoping and praying this actually gets recycled, we're making sure that those systems are actually working. So that it's actually doing the thing. Clean air and climate protection. Again, we want to make sure that manufacturers are on a pathway to achieve actual net zero carbon, net zero energy. So at a baseline, they have made a 5% reduction in one of those. So just by doing the program itself, they've made a reduction from the beginning. Huzzah! Water and soil stewardship. Again, we want to make sure that the stuff coming out of facilities is not poisonous. Again, let's protect those ecosystems. Birds chirping. Yay! And then this is my favorite, social fairness. And so at a minimum requirement, manufacturers have to show that there is no child or forced labor at their final manufacturing facility at least. That is a minimum requirement for Cradle to Cradle certified. So if you are looking for products that are not made with child or forced labor, which is unfortunately a really big problem in the built environment, Cradle to Cradle certified is doing that. And then as they move through the program, they sort of radiate throughout their supply chain. Okay. Why does this matter to you? You're like, come on, Ren, get to it. Okay, so fortunately, people will still pay more money for buildings and spaces that have sustainability credentials. And we get you tons of points, my friends. Because we're multi-attribute, because we're third-party verified, we can get you points in LEED, in WELL, in Living Building Challenge, in Green Star in Australia, if you're doing stuff there. DG&B in Germany, we are pending with Briam. I have a call with him in like 2 weeks. It's coming, I promise. And then in the Netherlands, we've got some stuff. I can't pronounce it. I live there now. I can't pronounce it. Sorry. I'm trying so hard. We are also in the mindful materials. We cover all 5 categories if you're doing that in the US. Design for Freedom is a lovely toolkit that talks about how to get child and forced labor out of the built environment supply chain, and we're listed in their toolkit. So if you're passionate about that, take a look at that. And we cover 6 of the 10 pledges in Architects Declare. If you're like me and you signed a pledge as a firm and you're like, now what? Working with Cradle to Cradle certified products can help you do that. And then if you're using the Declare Red List, we cover the same 19 classes as the Declare Red List. So we have got your bases covered. And like I said, because we're multi-attribute and third-party verified, all of these programs value those more heavily. So we get you more points. Less spreadsheeting. Love that. Okay, so Autodesk, a program we all know and love, did a survey last year, and they found that designers are spending 13 hours per week finding the right data. Does that seem like a good use of our time and talents? No. So we as a certification, we're trying to not be part of that 13 hours for you. So here's what that looks like in practice. Like I said, all of these products are third-party verified. So we get you the good data. The question is, where does it go and what do you do with it? So we have a fully digitized certification, which means that now these pieces of information about a certified product travel to all of these different places where you can be working. First, we also want to we have designed a visual scorecard because for Lord's sake, we are designers and it needs to be nice. So on the scorecard, you'll see 3 levels of information. The first is just a bar chart, right? Like what did this thing achieve in each of these categories? And then if you want to know what it means to be silver, gold, and material health, you click on it, and it's going to expand with all these tags about what a product has achieved. And if you're like, the heck does VOCs mean? You can click on that, and it's going to tell you what that means, right? So again, 3 levels of information depending on who you are as a designer or what your client is asking. We're going to get you all that information. That's all well and good, but we're taking it to the next level. 46% of design professionals are using AI to enhance their efficiency of sustainability, like documentation, right? It's a very document-heavy, data, lugubrious process that we go with. And so we are trying to make sure that we help you reduce that amount of hours. So all of these little pieces of information that live in the visual scorecard now also have been digitized, and they go to all of these different platforms that we partner with. where you could be working and finding products to make sure that they have all of this information available to them. So if you work in any of these databases, and in the US, like a new one comes out like every 10 days, God bless them, we make sure that that information flows automatically there. So you'll find updated, correct Cradle to Cradle certified information at all of these places, and that flows to you. We are then building like AI integrations on top of all of that on our own back end to make sure that, again, we have all these tools for you. What does that look like? Okay, this is hot off the press. This is a tool I have built. I'm calling it Fetch. And it allows you to find material, it surfaces material health information from our certification and allows you to ask it questions. So it will surface all this information and then you can ask it whatever you want about material health. It's brand spanking new. I'm not showing it to many designers. So if you are interested in taking a look at it, maybe beta testing, please let me know. My email is there because I'd be happy to talk to you about it. I've showed it to 2 people in this room. They might think it's cool, so hooray. But really what we're trying to do is, again, like help you find this information in a context that is useful for you. So if you wanna ask Fetch, is this low VOC? You can. If you wanna ask, give me 5 highlights about this that my client will care about in material health, it will tell you that too. If you wanna ask it, will I get lead points? It'll tell you that. So this is a tool that, like I said, we want to build things that allow you as a designer to work how you work, right? And make it easier for you and make it pretty because come on. So we've got all these beautiful products. We want to make sure they're beautiful on the website as well. So if you're interested in Fetch, let me know. We are making Fetch happen. And that is for my millennial friends in the room. Okay. If you're interested in what else we're doing or what else we're seeing in the market, I've got a series that I'm calling How to Be in Sustainability When the Vibes Are Off, because the vibes are off. So you can come hang out with us every month. The next one in June is on biochar. We also have a session later in June about how to talk finance. So like, what are the finance people who build buildings talking about? How do you speak that language? Like, what does CapEx mean? Like, come on. We, of course, have a session on AI. We have a session on like what marketing terms we should stop using, which are more relevant. We have someone talking about what they're seeing from all different countries, what we can learn from each other. Andro World is this wonderful furniture company that is certified, and they're going to talk about how they integrate this sustainability into like their aesthetics, how they design beautiful things. And then our last session is with our founder, Bill McDonough, and he's going to talk about what he sees as coming next. So if you're interested, you can scan this. Come hang out with me every month. It's going to be fun. And we're just going to talk about what we're seeing in the market, what's going on, what you need to know to stay ahead of things, how to talk finance, how to know what biochar is. Cool. For those of you who are designers in the room, I always like to end with a call to action, which is that you have a ton of power. You have 26 times the spending power as an average consumer. If you are on one of the top 100 giants lists in interior design, that jumps to 101 times the spending power. So what you buy in a project absolutely matters, and your impact ripples outside just the walls of a project through an entire supply chain. If you're working with manufacturers who have optimized their chemistry, paying their people well, you know, designing for circularity, like that is a huge impact. And so use it, my friends. Spend that money. Tell the market what you want. Keep asking. They are listening. And that's what I've got for you today. Thank you. I think that's all I got. And I can take any questions or we can mill about. Yes, go ahead.
What is the most complex product that is Cradle to Cradle certified?
A task chair. I would say a task chair. Because there's so many pieces that the manufacturer does not own. Foams, anything with foam is a problem.
And things that have electrical equipment in it?
Yes. So yeah, that one's really tricky as well. Typically, we don't do the drivers. We will do, like, oh, I have an electrical one as an example. Ha ha ha. Good eye. So this is a company called Hager. And they have certified the plate on top, the housing, but not the driver, because it's just too too tricky. And the supply chain is really difficult. So I would say the most complicated things are things that involve glues, dyes, foams. These are things where supply chains haven't been asked historically for material health information, and they seem to think they have like a magical unicorn, and they will not tell you anything about it. And so that's where like designers, if you keep asking for it, then they have to start providing that information. But those are the hardest ones. Great question. Any other questions? Yes.
How does the current economic climate, how does that affect people's propensity to pick up on something like this as a key issue to kind of input into their industries? I know as you say, like, they get extra points corporately for doing this, and the government are pushing for this. But from your personal experience, have you found that has the economic climate affected the uptake in any way?
Yeah, you know where it actually has upticked is commercial furniture, because people are realizing that there's like an ESG benefit for not throwing away all of their like task chairs, because they have to report on their assets. So weirdly, the circular economy is coming up with the finance people, because they are the ones in like finance and operations who are like, we have to like report on our scope 3 emissions. Our building stock is typically our scope 3 for these companies. So they're starting to ask. So like that's when it starts to ripple down from clients asking designers, is because the ESG people have been like, we need to start accounting for all of this. And so it's coming down a little bit. What I find is that, so when I took my firm PVC free, I always say I could sneak it in, right? Like I'm from Alaska, we don't talk about sustainability, so I could just do it and not tell anyone. You cannot do that with circularity. Like there are so many people involved. It has to be, everybody has signed off on it. But what is great is that once you have signed off on it, it's because the finance people have said this makes sense. So you can directly tie the benefits to this one thing that you've done, which is a big thing. But that makes it easier to get it through in projects, is when the finance people are like, yes. So those are sort of the trends that I'm finding, is like with the geopolitical status as we are, circularity is making a lot more sense to people, because it's not as easy to just get stuff and have it show up, or have the people show up to do it. So yeah, it's actually kind of proving itself a little bit right now. Yeah, great question. Any other questions? I just blazed through that content. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, Ren. Fetch.
Yes.
Just explain that again, because that sounds fun.
It is fun. It is fun. Okay, so Fetch is something that I built. I went rogue and built it. Yeah. And so Fetch is a fenced velociraptor, in that it is not allowed to go on the internet to find information. What it does is it searches our standard. It searches what this actual product did in its certification. It can read our restricted substances list. And then it uses AI to contextualize what that means, right? So if you type in, is this healthy for kids? It's gonna look at what this product achieved in material health. It's gonna read the standard, and then it's gonna be like, why does this matter for kids? And it's gonna give you an answer.
So it's based on your data, which is great.
Yes, fenced velociraptor, in the fence, yes. Yeah, so like I said, we're looking for beta testers. Basically, if designers like it, then I can build it for real. So that's what I'm doing. But really, I'm just trying to make it easier for you to find this information in language that your client understands, that you understand, that your team understands, and make it fun, because I'm tired of sustainability not being fun. It is fun. It's cool and new. Yeah. We good? Do we do it? Awesome. Thank you so much.